Hello and welcome to the last video in this advanced Excel course. In this video, we'll learn about the index and match functions. Now, if you watched the previous video on VLOOKUP, you'll remember that VLOOKUP only works when the data that you're looking for is to the right hand side of what your lookup value is. So our lookup value was U-DISE code and the data that we wanted was total enrollment, which is to the right hand side of our lookup value. But if you are facing a situation where the data that you have, the lookup value that you have is, the data that you need is actually located to the left hand side of your lookup value, then you can't use VLOOKUP, then you need index and match functions. Now what index and match functions are, they're actually two separate functions, but they're often used together. Now what the index function does is that it returns the value from the given row. But how do you know which row to look for? For that you have the match function. The match function returns the row number based on a lookup value. So let's try to put it into practice here. So first we'll find the match value, then we'll find the indexed value. Okay, now say I have these U-DISE codes. I want to find the school name based on these U-DISE codes. First, I'll use the match function. Let me show you how. I'll type match. Now the match function, similar to VLOOKUP, first it asks for a lookup value. My lookup value is the U-DISE code here. Then I press comma. Then it asks me lookup array, which is where should I look up this value? So I go to the enrollment data and I select the whole U-DISE code column, because that is where it has to look up and find which row is this particular U-DISE code lookup value in. I press comma again, and just like VLOOKUP, I get three options here this time: less than, exact match, or greater than. I want exact match. So I'll put 0, I'll close the function, and there you go. What does this 11 mean? This 11 means that this U-DISE code is in the 11th row inside this particular array that you defined. Now we defined enrollment data E column, which is this one. If we look at the 11th row in this is the U-DISE code 19240.100.103, which is exactly the lookup value that we specified. So the match function has done its job, which is it has returned the row number of our lookup value. Now using this row number, we will return the value from this given row. So we'll use the index function for that. So we'll say index. Now where should we look up the value? We'll go back to enrollment data. We want the school name. So we'll select the whole school name column, comma. Now it's asking for the row number. Our row number is this one, and we'll close the bracket, and there you go. Our index function tells us that row 11 is actually school 10. That's the school name, and that is exactly what it is. This is the U-DISE code that we looked up, and we found out using the match function that it is row number 11, and the index function went to this column, went to row number 11 and returned school 10 to us, which is the school name that we wanted. Now here we have done it in two separate columns. We could put this together into a single function. The way to do that would be you just take your match function and put it inside the index function. So first we will write index. Now where are we looking for the data? We are looking for it in the school name column. Then the row number has to come from the match function. So I'll say match. What is our lookup value? Our lookup value is this E2, and our lookup array is the U-DISE code and has to be an exact match. I close the match function, I close the index function. There you go. Now this might look very complicated, but trust me, it's exactly what we wrote here. Our match function was match E2 enrollment data E2 E0. It's the same thing. Index match is, the same sheet's name. If we could also just delete this, there's no need for that. See, it's the same. Match E2 enrollment data E2 E0. match E2 enrollment data E to E 0, and the index was index enrollment data D to D and the value of the match function, which is what we've done here as well, index enrollment data D to D and the returned value of the match function. And just as before, if I drag this all the way down, it will automatically find all the other school names from these U-DISE codes. Now I can do the same with blocks as well. Now the way to do that would be, here we were returning the value from D column, which here is the school name column. This time we want the block value, which is the C column. So all we have to do is change this D into a C. So I'll just copy this whole value. I'll put equal to, paste that, but instead of D, I'll say look at the C. And there you go. It returns the block value as well. So I'll drag this all the way down here. And this may look like it's an error, but actually all of these codes and U-DISE codes are actually from this block only. Now we can do the same thing. Now instead of U-DISE codes, if we only had school names and we had to find the U-DISE code, we could do the same thing. Let's just do it once. Index. Now what we want to return this time is the U-DISE code. So I'll select this. And the match function has to give us the row number. So the match value we have here is the school name. And the match function has to look it up in the school name column, and it has to be an exact match, and I'll close both the functions, and there you go. School number 16, U-DISE code is 5601. If we go here, school number 16, U-DISE code is 5601. It's exactly what the data says. Now we can simply drag this down and we have all of our U-DISE codes based only on the school names. Now if you want the block names based on these school names, you can simply drag this function, even though this function is actually using the U-DISE code. But since we already have these U-DISE codes, we could just drag this function down and it will return the U-DISE codes of those schools as well. See here, this one is from, we can actually manually verify it just like before. Now school number 289, now our functions, index match functions tell us that this school number 289 is in Kalimpong 1 and has U-DISE code ending in 1601. Let's go to school number 289. Here it is. School number 289 is in Kalimpong 1 and has the U-DISE code ending in 1601. So that is our index and match result as well. So the index match functions, just to repeat, they work together with the index function returning us the value from a given row, and to get the row, the match function returns the row number based on a lookup value. Now the index and match function works exactly very similar to the VLOOKUP function, but the only difference is that the VLOOKUP function works when you have your data that you're looking for is to the right hand side of the lookup value. So the lookup value is here and the data you need is there. You can use VLOOKUP. But the index match function, you can use it anywhere you like. It doesn't matter whether the data is to the left or to the right. It doesn't matter. You can use the index lookup function anywhere. So that's all there was to our advanced Excel course. I hope you enjoyed it, and please do practice the assignments that are given with all of these videos. And if you have any questions, you can always ask us in the webinar that we'll be hosting soon. And please do fill up the feedback form at the end of this video. And I hope to see you in the other courses.